Hey, it looks like we're live. Welcome to CUB Live, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Sandra Moskowitz. I am Executive Director at the Citizens Utility Board, and I am joined today by my very first boss at CUB, Sandra Reme. Although when you hired me, you were Sandra Marcelin. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
So I'm stoked that we get to appear on screen together. The last time Sandra and I appeared together on screen was on CAN TV, the cable access TV network in Chicago, some 21 years ago.
And I am hoping all of those tapes are lost. Please.
I am still looking for them. I'm good.
Oh, no, don't look for them. You'll find them. Don't look for them.
So I think, our comms department, this was their idea. They thought it would be cool to get us talking about the old times and kind of how CUB has changed and how our roles have changed over the years. And this is going to be, I already know, the highlight of my day, thinking about how long it's been and how much has changed. I was just telling Elizabeth, our comms person who set this up before you got on, Sandra, that I still remember the day that you first interviewed me and how nervous I was. My boyfriend dropped me off at the corner in front of our old office, and I was early because, nervous.
Yes.
And so freaked out. I went into that McDonald's that was across the street.
Yeah.
I went in the bathroom and splashed water on my face and then went in. But then it was great. It was I remember the interview was really cool. You gave me a piece of the administrative code, which is basically the law that dictates how the utilities have to treat their customers. And then you gave me a letter, a consumer letter, and you said, based on what you see in the code here, compose a letter to this consumer about this issue. And it was actually a really fun task. And I think that was kind of a harbinger of a lot of what my various jobs at CUB have been, which is basically kind of translating these really complicated utility policies for regular folk. And then in turn,
that aren't talking utilities every day.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then take what we're learning from regular consumers and taking that to kind of the policy spaces to make sure that we can affect some kind of change that benefits customers. So
yeah. What made you even decide, out of all of the being fresh out of, U of C, what made you decide to come to CUB? I probably have your interview questions somewhere, so I'm going to check to see if it's the same answer. But do you remember what made you decide CUB and the position?
I'm going to ask you that same thing because, I think a lot of us came from just such various backgrounds. I mean, I had just graduated from the University of Chicago with a bachelor's in anthropology, but I was really interested in helping people, I think, on the day-to-day. I really wanted to make some kind of difference in my community. I was from the East Coast originally, but I wanted to stay in Chicago, and I wanted to work at a nonprofit, and this looked interesting. It was not something I had any exposure with, but I could see right away that it was important and that it affects everybody. I might not have realized how tough a job it was. So yes. My first job at CUB was working for Sandra. Sandra was the head of Consumer Advocacy. So I was one of the people who was on our hotline picking up calls from people who had questions and complaints about their utilities. And that was a tough job. It was like really hard.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, unfortunately, there's not much you can do. I mean, we have serious affordability issues in Illinois, which could be worse. But at the end of the day, there's some folks that we just couldn't do much for. And it was hard. I heard a lot of really tough stories, and it was hard not to take that home. So, I don't know if I knew what I was getting into, but I was 19 years old or something. Or no, I was 21. I was probably 21. And that's the rest is history.
You remember are any of those cases, do they stand out for you, good or bad?
I mean, they were tough. I remember talking to a woman whose heat was off. Her gas had been disconnected, and she was talking to me about sending her kids to bed with all of their winter clothes on, bundled up in their coats and stuff. I talked to an elderly woman whose phone had been disconnected and she had suffered a health emergency. And I think she was calling me from the hospital. And so yeah, the things that like are really like traumatic, life-changing things for people is what really left an impression. Although there are funny stories too. I'm curious about you because you have been doing this stuff too. What are some consumer situations that you recall, either funny or good or difficult?
The one that's going to go down in history is the telephone service being connected to the thermostat. Like that is back when AT&T were having their major issues, and someone, yes, had their phone service connected to the thermostat. Like on one hand, you're like, maybe kind of, gee, like how did you even get that to connect? But on like a very serious note, like you're touching someone's thermos, like their heating source. What are you doing there?
I remember that. I remember they sent us a picture. And we
yes.
like the bulletin board in the office because it was so
yes.
Yeah, like so that was an issue. That was Ameritech back then.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I was sleepwalking about Ameritech. I mean, I was having nightmares. I still can't type the word America without accidentally typing tech. Yeah, like they connected the phone service and they ran the wire to the thermostat. But you know what? There's a lot of really good stories too, and I think that's why you and I have both stayed at CUB for so long, because we've actually been able to make a positive difference. I remember helping a guy who'd gotten slammed with some kind of crazy telecom charge, and we were able to he got a huge, like a $600 bill, and I was able to get $550 knocked off of that because it was some kind of error with what kind of plan he was on.
Yeah.
Helping people all the time who are with bad alternative energy suppliers. So, there's been a lot of really good stories along the way too. Do you remember any of the folks that in particular that you've helped?
I'm trying to think of one in particular. I think in general, definitely the ones that are, they kind of stand out, even though I can't pinpoint one of them, is just this, when folks, like we were talking, like you mentioned before, the affordability and being able to, because people want to pay their bills. Like no one is like, and they'll tell you, I'm not looking for a handout. I want to pay the bill. I just have a tough situation, or I'm in a rut right now, or things have been tough for a while. And being able to get the consumer and the utility company on the same page and advocate for them and say, hey, look, you can see from before the bills kind of, fell behind, this person was really either on time or really trying. This is, a situation that's just hit them now. You obviously want to collect the money. This person obviously wants to pay, to pay you. Yes, it's not the entire thing, but, can't we work this out? And seeing it work out and having the customer kind of relieved, like, okay, yes, now I've got my, pride back. I am paying the utility company. I don't have to shy away from the disconnection notices and the phone calls and everything else. I'm on an arrangement. Everything is fine. And if they're able to get on an arrangement, for example, then they're able to, cover other things. So it helps overall beyond just that utility bill, which already is a lot for them to handle. So yeah, just like in general, those kind of stand out for me. And people who advocate, who want to, like, I'm always wanting to help people advocate, but sometimes people call and they're like, no, I want to be the advocate. I just don't have the information. And giving people the information, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to call that company and let them know that I know what my rights are. And if I need you, I'll call back. But yeah, I love those as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That was part of what was fun about working on the hotline, and then also working in outreach, was just, problem solving and
Yes.
being able to meet the consumer where they were at.
Yes.
People would come to us with all different kinds of wants, just information, or we want you to take care of it. Some people are just so overwhelmed. They're like, please don't make me call them again. Can you handle it? And I think CUB is really good at hiring people who kind of can think on their feet, but also can master a broad variety of issues. Because, at first you think like, oh, utilities, that's just like a small sliver of the world, but there's so much within that. Everything about like financial assistance to decoding the bills, to what kinds of efficiency or renewable programs might be available to folks, to just the technology, how it works, to how to read your meter. I mean, it's just like there's almost an infinite amount of stuff to know.
Yes.
And so we have I think we hire really good people. I say humbly, but and let them kind of study, and it's kind of like a lifelong learning.
Yes.
To work in this industry as well. So Sandra, how long have you worked at CUB?
Oh boy. Since 93. I started as an intern my final year at UIC, and had gone to the sociology department. I had a part-time job, and I was like, I have to do this internship, but I need to get paid, because in order to complete this internship, I'm gonna have to give up some of my work hours. So they gave me all of the paid internships, and had told me that CUB, they sent interns to work at CUB, and they all had, really positive experiences, along with a couple of other organizations. So I met Marty, 2 executive directors before you. And he's like, well, we actually aren't really looking for any interns right now, but at the same time, we could use some help. Come to a staff meeting, listen to what everyone does, and whoever piques your interest and says that they need an intern, you could work for them. So it was kind of weird, but cool at the same time, because I got an immediate introduction to the entire organization, and I ended up working for the policy and research person, Brian Ross, because I have a stats. I completed an applied sociology degree, which is just sociology with an emphasis on statistics. So Brian was the research person, and connected with him, and worked an internship with him. And to show you how long ago I worked at CUB, my research project was calling around to state commissions and finding out where they are in the electric deregulation process, whether they were discussing it, whether they were further along and had legislation ready to go, or it wasn't even being discussed, and kind of putting that information together.
I guess that makes sense. I never knew that, but yeah. 1993, I guess, is when that stuff was starting to heat up. Wow. So then from there, what other jobs have you had at CUB?
Oh gosh. So yeah, then the internship was done. I left, and CUB's very first executive director, Sue Stewart, was still there when I was interning, and she called and said that someone was leaving the back then it was the organizing department, now outreach department, very different, busing seniors to Springfield and the hats and buttons and all of that stuff. Someone was leaving that department, and would I be interested? And I told her I was, because I had a great experience as an intern and loved the staff, and came back and did that. So I was in the organizing department. I was a legal assistant for the legal team. I was a backup back then they were called consumer affairs specialists. Was a backup consumer affairs specialist, because that job was being handled by someone who also went to Springfield. So when he was in Springfield, then I would help on the hotline. And then, yeah, so I was doing those jobs simultaneously for a bit. I left for a year, and then came back as the director of consumer advocacy, and then added operations, which is what I do now.
Yeah, so it seems like our MO at CUB of people wearing multiple hats simultaneously goes back even before my time at the organization, because that's always been something that's been fun about working at CUB, but also challenging, right? Is that like everyone kind of does a little bit of everything.
Right, exactly. And you left for grad school,
I
right?
did.
What made you come back?
You did.
Thank you.
So after a couple of years working for you in consumer advocacy, like basically, in effect, kind of being a social worker, I started thinking about what would my next career move be, and I thought, well, maybe social work or social service administration, becoming a therapist eventually. Maybe that's what I should do. Been working in the real world for a while. Let's see what kind of grad schools I get into. And I got into the University of Chicago School of Social Service Administration. Seemed appropriate. Got some financial assistance to do that. So I left CUB to do that, but not full time. I actually stayed on, remember, 1 day a week.
Yes.
As an admin assistant. So I remember I was coming in on Fridays, and like our one of my colleagues, Amy, would be like, "Hey, it's Sarah Day." And it was everything from, running the folding machine. Remember when we had a folding machine?
Yes.
Backing up.
Oh my gosh, and having to take that thing apart because it would jam so much.
That was my my job security. I feel like the folding machine whisperer. No one else really knew its language. Answering, just working at reception, making copies, just all admin assistant stuff, basically. And it was fun.
Yeah.
Vacation every week away from my studies to just come in and hang out with my friends at CUB. And then when I graduated with my master's, CUB happened to have just gotten some funding to do outreach around landline telephone consumer education. Like, that's how long ago that was.
Right.
And, like, I think you guys were kind of like, you interested and kind of heading this up, Sarah? And I'm like, oh man, and it was just like, I could see it was like this kind of fork in the road for me. Do I want to pursue kind of social work, social service, maybe being a therapist, or do I want to stay at this organization that I love and I believe in? And it just seemed like such a great opportunity. It seemed like my world would open up, getting to travel around and be in the field talking to consumers. And so I went for it, and it was a blast. It was just so much fun.
You did an amazing job heading that off. That was a lot with there wasn't a map or you built it. You built it up. We knew we knew the information we needed to get out, but how it got out, what we did internally to, staff it and make sure that it got out was all on you.
Well, it was, I mean, I had a lot of help. We had some great folks. I was pretty lucky in finding some excellent people to help out and get out in the field. And, some of them are still around. Even those who don't work at CUB anymore have moved on to work in other places in the industry.
Yes.
Still interact with them. They go to work at places like, NRDC or EDF, or, one of my colleagues went to work for the National Organization of Community Action Agencies, basically like the low-income energy assistance administering agencies throughout the country. And so we still see each other all the time.
Yeah.
We're kind of populating the earth with CUB educated people. So that was really a good primer also. I mean, that and working in consumer advocacy on what's important to consumers. What do people care about? What is the experience out here on the street? And I think that is part of what makes our organization so effective and so well respected, both by consumers and by kind of policymakers, is that, we see every day where the rubber hits the road when it comes to these policies and how they actually affect consumers. And we are able to kind of take those learnings back and shape future policies. So now, we went from spending all my time talking to people about landline telephone service. Now we find ourselves kind of at the forefront of the clean energy transition. And yet again, there's a need for consumer voice in all of these forums, like, because people are interested. People want to do this. But, it needs to work for them. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to figure out if you're going to go on this journey of electrifying your home or installing solar panels or what have you. And there's also there's potential pitfalls. So
exactly. Yep.
To be there.
Yeah, no, they count on us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I knew this time was going to go by really fast. Like there is so much that we could talk about. I'm trying to think of where to go. What is your the most exciting stuff that you've been working on these days? Because you kind of wear two very different hats right now at CUB.
Yes.
You're basically running the show in a lot of ways with as operations director, making sure like the office is running, that people are happy. But you also have that external face where you're working with the public still and still taking consumer inquiries. You're managing the team that man the phones. Are you and you're still feeling energized about all that?
I am. I think because every day is different, because there are those two different areas. Like that actually makes it even better because no day is the same. It's not like monotonous. It's not like you go in. It's like it could be a very heavy consumer advocacy day. Something's broken and it's like not broken. So news has broken, and that's where all of the attention needs to be. Or I could be in the middle of the audit, and that is like really interesting. Like trying to make sure that gets put together and squared away, and then we have deadlines for that, so meeting those deadlines, and then bringing on new people and getting to have them seeing them excited about coming on board and letting them know that we're open, we're here for them, that they can talk to us, that they're about to start a great journey. We joke a lot about the fact that we bring people on and we kind of like train them up, and they go out there and do great things, which actually is not a joke. We really do. We really do that. We have great, like you said, we have great people out there that stay in this area. And I think a part of that, if you ask them, they'd say a good part of that is their time at CUB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, we are making sure that people are keeping the consumers in mind, no matter what they go do. And I have former colleagues will text me who may not even necessarily still work in the industry, but they'll text me when they see like a ComEd truck or something like, I thought of you and I shook my fist. But I got to say, I appreciate you, Sandra, for a lot of reasons. One of which is that you are such a numbers and math person. The fact that you even mentioned audit when I asked you what you like is just like just further proof that we are different. If I have to do any kind of math, I send it to you to check. And so thank you for that.
Keep it coming. I love it.
Again, like, wow. I understand. But yeah, thank you for all of the fantastic work. I'm super proud to work with such a great group of folks. I have one last question for you before we sign off, because we usually try to keep these to half an hour. What is the one thing that you want Illinois consumers to know based on your years, or even most recently hearing from what's going on out there in the utility world? What do people need to know?
That they do have, I mean, it's really super cliche, but that they do have rights. And it is really, really important. Like I said, we're here to help them if they're, feeling uneasy about advocating for them, but just knowing that you have those rights, look for them, make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, or even just not even maliciously being taken advantage of. Just make sure that there isn't something that you're missing out on. You're thinking that it's one way, but look into it, check in with us, or online, anywhere, and make sure that you're getting the very best that's out there for you. There's a lot of great consumer advocacy work that has been done, a lot more to do. Our plates are full, but yeah, make sure that you are exercising every single right that you have. And if you have a question, that you get those answered before you take, and keep an open dialogue with the utilities. I know it's easier said than done, but you don't know how many times we've submitted a case and the utility company is like, well, they've never called, like, we didn't know. They never called us. They, jumped to us or the commission. And that's fine. We will help you, but it is really important to have an open dialogue with the utility company. The worst that they can say is no. And then you can call us and see if that no is correct. And if it's not, we will go after them. But definitely keep that dialogue open.
Yeah, you're right. It can be so daunting to have to call the company. I mean, even I, after all these years, get heart palpitations when I have to call, my cell phone company or something about something. It's just, it's never pleasant.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons. And it's just a lot, and everyone's busy, and it's a stressful thing. But, the extent to which you can just take a few moments and pay attention to your bill, take a quick look at it. Something doesn't
yes.
Look it up. Maybe there's something wrong. And
another very important point, yes, is look at your bill every single month. Mm-hmm. All of them.
I know.
All of them. Utility or not, actually, but
yeah. It's not the most fun thing, but you can save yourself a lot of headache and heartache down the road. And just
yes.
We're here. We're here. If you have any kind of questions about it, that's what we're here for. So I hope more people know about that, and take advantage of the fact that there's a whole organization here to help them navigate these issues.
Exactly. Yep. Well, we have a couple of minutes. How has it been as executive director?
Very busy, but more like what you said about, like, you never know what you're going to step into every day. There's always like all kinds of different things coming your way. It's so far it's been like that times 100, which is energizing. It really is.
Yeah.
But definitely feel like there aren't enough hours in the day because there's so much to work on right now. But it's also really fun and humbling, especially to work with such a fantastic team of people.
We really do have a good crew.
Super proud of everybody on our staff, and our staff is growing right now. We're hiring. It's super exciting. Just in time for some big fights at the state level about gas. Everyone's talking about a CJA for gas. That's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a difficult issue to work out, and we're going to need someone representing consumers throughout all of this, and we're ready to do it. So yeah, it's just been kind of a whirlwind, and I'm just trying to stay on top of everything. But it's also been super fun, and never thought really I would be here, but hey, I am. And
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I know we're getting close to the 30 minutes, but do you want to talk about that? Like, what was your thought? Like,
I'm like, yeah. So that day that I came in for that first interview with Sandra, I was like, one day I will rule this. No, it's such an interesting. I mean, I go and talk to other consumer advocates at these conferences, and one question that we always talk about is how did we get into this field? And very few of us were like, I set out, on my path to do this. We just kind of find ourselves in it, and we kind of like get the itch, and it's like you get infected with this need to delve deeper. It's surreal, but it's I don't know. I'm like, really? Can I do this? And a friend of mine said, why not you? I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'll see. I'll try to do my best, and especially do my best for the consumers and for the team. And so far, so good, I think. But it's only been a month.
I'm with your friend. Why not you? It was a no-brainer to me. I'm sure, that's, as you know, the sentiment of the rest of the staff too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everything, Sandra. You're the best. And
thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to be on camera with me. Those CAN TV days, that was a call-in show. So we would be sitting up there taking calls from the public, and some of those calls were,
oh my gosh, memorable. Often memorable.
Memorable, right? So
for different reasons.
Yeah, I'm gonna find those VHS tapes, man.
Oh gosh, no.
Look out, YouTube. All right. Well, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And thank you for tuning in for this walk down memory lane.
Oh, I think we have one more thing that we there's a People's Gas.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I'll let you.
Yes.
You probably got more better deets than I do.
Yep. People's Gas. Thank you, Sandra. You're actually looking at this. So People's Gas, along with every other utility almost in the state, is in the middle of a rate case right now at the Illinois Commerce Commission. And the commission is holding a public forum this coming Tuesday at UIC between 6 and 9 p.m., at which People's Gas customers can come and raise their concerns to the commission about the People's Gas rate hike. So if you, like us, believe that People's Gas rates are already too high and you do not think they should be given a blank check by the Illinois Commerce Commission, we encourage you to show up at this forum, free to the public. Come on down, 6 to 9 p.m. this coming Tuesday. We have information about it on CUB's website. Probably if you're on Facebook, you'll see flyers for it on the CUB Facebook feed. And make your voice heard. It's not every day that there's actually a forum set up where people can come out and speak. Usually you just have to submit comments electronically or what have you. But this is you can actually get up there and look ICC staff in the eye and tell them why this is not a good deal for customers. So please show up. We fight hard for these kinds of venues.
Yes.
So hope people use them. And the commission is supposed to decide on the rate case November, December at the end of this year. So stay tuned for more on all of that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, folks. Have a good afternoon and weekend.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Yes.
All right.